Welcome to Rise Unwind. Every week on our show, we bring you lifestyle tips, tricks, and more from all the people who know it best. And this week, we have this.
I love to do moves that, people kind of already do, but I put my own kind of Tiffy twist on it, if you will.
I don't care anymore if the skeptics agree with me or not. The evidence is there. I mean, I cannot tell you how many times I've been asked, I love Ancient Aliens, but how come you never show any evidence? Well, in the almost 300 episode we've done, it's all evidence. The evidence is in the episodes.
All that and more on Rise and Unwind. Did you know half of women over 50 will break a bone because of osteoporosis? With World Osteoporosis Day coming up on October 20th, it's a good reminder to check in on our bone health. Joining us are orthopedic surgeon Dr. Shannon Carpenter and patient advocate Laura Rink, who's sharing her own experience living with osteoporosis. Welcome to you both.
Good morning.
Hi. Laura, how did you find out you had osteoporosis, and what was going through your mind when you got that diagnosis?
Sure. So my journey started in 2022 when my doctor recommended a routine bone density scan for a woman of my age. I was in my 50s. I was physically active, leading a healthy lifestyle. I thought, great, let's do this. And I was absolutely shocked to get the results. I had a T-score of negative 4.0. And that may not mean anything to your viewers. It didn't mean anything to me at the time. So I asked my doctor to sort of explain that. And he said, sure, that's a number we usually see with 90-year-old women, not women in their 50s. So, that was my initial diagnosis with osteoporosis. This is a progressive disease that weakens my bones and was putting me at great risk of fracture. And, I took that diagnosis and I thought to myself, I'm going to reverse it. I'm going to do everything in my power to change the course of this disease. And that's what I did for the next year of my life. And that looked like exercise and, diet and all the things that we know we need to do. I did that, came back in a year, had the next scan, and was absolutely alarmed that my bone density had gotten worse. It had gone from negative 4.0 to negative 4.4. And this was sort of a shocking result. It was also a rude awakening for me to understand that this is a progressive disease. So I talked to my doctor. It was time to have that conversation. And we talked about all the treatment options. We picked the best one for me. I've been on that journey for a little over a year. I just had my follow-up scan 3 weeks ago, and I'm going in the right direction now. I have increased my bone density by 20%. So that's where I'm at.
Well, that's great news, Laura. Awesome. Yeah. Dr. Carpenter, for anyone who may not know, what exactly is osteoporosis and who's most at risk?
Yeah, I want to start by saying thank you to Amgen for partnering with us to present this important message to your viewers. But osteoporosis is a progressive disease. Like Laura said, it gets worse over time. And it's a condition where the bones get weaker or softer over time and can actually lead to an increased risk of fracture. The patients who are most at risk, although it affects men and women, are women around the age of menopause, because when the estrogen leaves our body, it causes the bones to weaken and can lead to those fractures, which is the largest risk, which can also lead to a lack of independence. Most people don't realize how common it is, like you said previous, about the amount of fractures, but it's also responsible for more hospitalizations each year than heart disease, breast cancer, or stroke. Yet it doesn't get near the attention that those disease processes do.
And Dr. Carpenter, once someone learns they have it, what can they do to keep their bones healthy and strong?
Yeah, so if you have a diagnosis of osteoporosis, first thing is know that there's no shame in that diagnosis. You haven't done something wrong, but you should work with your doctor and partner with them to get in the hands of someone who knows how to treat this disease with medications that can help build your bone and help prevent fractures. That can be a specialist like myself. I'm an orthopedic surgeon who specializes in bone health. I'm not Laura's doctor, but I am a doctor who treats bone health. There's other doctors like endocrinologists, rheumatologists, some primary care doctors, but there are medications out there that can help improve your bone density and prevent fractures. Unfortunately, lifestyle changes like diet, exercise, while helpful and important, are usually not enough once you've reached a diagnosis of postmenopausal osteoporosis to move the needle on the disease and prevent fractures.
And Laura, you become an advocate for bone health. What message do you want other women to hear from your story?
Well, I want women to step up and advocate for their own bone health. I think it's so important. And, the good news is we know how to do that as women. We do a really nice job when it comes to breast cancer, for example. We know when to ask our doctors about mammograms. We talk to each other about mammograms. We even buddy up and go to mammograms together. I think we need to have that same approach when it comes to bone density scans and osteoporosis. That's a tool that gives us so much information about our bone health. I think that it's really time to have women talk to their doctors, ask for those scans, if not demand the scan, and stay ahead of the disease. Don't wait until you've broken a bone. Both my mother and my grandmother had osteoporosis. They both suffered a broken hip in their lives, and I watched them lose mobility and independence. And most importantly, I watched them lose some joy from their lives when they were unable to do the things that they wanted to do after they had broken hips. So, I guess my key message is together, let's sort of form this sisterhood and stay ahead of the disease.
And finally, where can viewers go to learn more about protecting their bones?
I'm glad you asked that question. We have a really great website, easy to remember, buildingyourbones.com.
Great. Thank you, too, for the valuable information and being on our show today.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
October is National Financial Planning Month, and if you've been feeling the pinch lately, you're not alone. From debt to bills and everyday costs, money management can feel like a juggling act. Here to share some free and easy ways to get your finances on track is Darlene Goins, Head of Philanthropy and Community Impact at Wells Fargo. Welcome to the show, Darlene.
Thanks for having me.
A lot of people are talking about money these days. How do you think Americans are feeling about their finances right now?
Times are tough for a lot of people. People are trying to make their paychecks stretch further. Some people may be looking for work. About a third of Americans feel like they're just getting by. But the great thing is you don't have to try to manage your finances on your own. There are a lot of free resources that can help.
And what are some easy areas where people can start saving without totally changing their lifestyle?
Well, I like to offer 4 surprising tips to help people boost their financial future. The first is, are you passionate about something? Like, do you enjoy to bake or make jewelry or walk dogs? Can you turn that into a small business? By working with a community development financial institution, they can help you put together a business plan and figure out how to access startup capital. The second area is when it comes to your budget. We know housing costs are high, but if you're a renter, have you ever thought about negotiating your rent with your landlord? It's worth having a conversation. You don't have to accept an increase in your rent without having a conversation first. Caregivers, for people with disabilities and their families, there are special savings accounts that are offered by most states. They're called ABLE accounts, and they can help you save for things like education, healthcare, and transportation. And then as we wrap up the year and move into tax season, there are VITA centers, voluntary income tax assistance centers, that can help you prepare your tax returns for free and maximize your refund and see if you're eligible for things like the child tax credit.
You've mentioned free financial planning tools. What are a few that people can use today?
Well, Wells Fargo and its foundation donate about $280 million to nonprofits to offer free resources to communities. Some of those that people can tap into today include the Small Business Resource Navigator that can help connect you to community development financial institutions if you want to turn your side hustle into a real business. Also, SaverLife has free scripts that help you negotiate your rent with your landlord. And the National Disability Institute can help you understand and access ABLE accounts.
Sounds like really helpful tools, and I want to get on them too. So where can I and viewers go to find out more and access those free resources?
All of these resources are housed in one place at stories.wf.com/financial future. So I hope you check them out.
Awesome, Darlene. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Ancient Aliens is back with new episodes on History Channel, and the conversation has jumped from your TV to the stage. The live show, Ancient Aliens Live is touring the country, and joining us today is the face of the series, Giorgio Tsoukalos. Giorgio, it's good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Hi, Dan. Thank you so much for having me on, and I'm doing great. Thanks very much. How about you?
I'm doing good. For the fans out there who only know about the TV series, what does this Ancient Aliens Live deliver that you can't get from a single episode? Is there a moment from it, from doing it, that has kind of surprised you too?
Absolutely, because Ancient Aliens Live is something to give back to the fans, because only the fans have kept us on the air for so long. Because without an audience, you can't be on the air. So thanks to all the fans for keeping on our lights. And so as a thank you, we are crisscrossing the US together with myself, Jason Martell, William Henry, and Nick Pope, some of the stars of the show. And we present essentially a 90-minute immersive Ancient Aliens episode with photos, videos, discussions, and a Q&A at the end with the audience. And so if you want to see how we interact with each other and what our banter is, and if you want to hear us speak in full sentences, then this is a fun night out on the town for the whole family. And it's a little roller coaster around the world full of adventure, exploring ancient mysteries. So come on down, check it out.
And the season feels bigger, with perspectives colliding, some new discoveries. In your words, what's new or evolved about Ancient Aliens right now?
Well, Ancient Aliens, we are now also covering modern aliens, because I've got news. They never left. They've always been here observing, because back then they were called the Watchers. Well, a watcher never stops watching. And so what were our ancestors referring to? They were referring to visiting extraterrestrials who imparted the first basics of science, mathematics, agriculture, engineering, all the medicine, all the astronomy, all these different things. And so I think that if you teach that to somebody, you never lose interest to observe their progress. And so I think that is what's going on right now. These increased UFO sightings up in the sky, I think it's them showing themselves slowly to illustrate, hey, you are not alone. And by the way, you've never been alone.
And skeptics are always asking for that strongest piece of evidence, the one thing that you kind of point to and say, let's start here. What is it for you and why?
So long ago, I would have completely answered this question differently, and I would have rattled off a whole list of what I find concise evidence. However, over time, I learned that any skeptic in this is only ready to accept any of our propositions if they are ready for it. And so I don't care anymore if the skeptics agree with me or not. The evidence is there. I mean, I cannot tell you how many times I've been asked, I love Ancient Aliens, but how come you never show any evidence? Well, in the almost 300 episode we've done, it's all evidence. The evidence is in the episode. So this illustrates perfectly that what might be evidence to some is not evidence to someone else. And so time will tell. And I know that we are sitting on the right horse. And, we are in the paradigm shift already. I mean, if you would have told me 30 years ago there would be congressional hearings in US Congress about UAPs and UFOs, I would have said, you know what? That would be wonderful, but it will never happen. And only last week, a few days ago, there was the third congressional hearing about UAP/UFOs in the halls of Congress. I mean, we live in the most extraordinary of times.
And you guys often connect mythology, history, traditions. Where do you draw that line between legend and historical data?
Well, the line is that it is a fact that any legend, any mythology has to be rooted in some type of a reality, because not a single idea is born out of a vacuum. And so if you have, biblical stories of, let's say, Ezekiel, who is taken up by this glowing glory of the Lord, as he calls it, but then it descends and he sees that there's a wheel within a wheel, and it was as noisy as 1,000 waterfalls and things like that. So you have to ask yourself, wait a second, were these just visions? Did it all just happen in somebody's head because, they drank too much or they smoked one or two substances? That to me is insulting the intelligence of our ancestors. Our ancestors commemorated these things because they knew whatever they were observing was not ordinary. It was extraordinary because they lived in nature. They were way closer to nature than we will ever be in this day and age. I mean, they lived in nature. I mean, they had no shelter in the earliest of days. They had to find shelter. They had to, find food, hunter-gatherers. And so when you have the earliest of petroglyphs that have very strange beings in them, you have to wonder, well, how did they come up with this if there was nothing to base this upon? Because any psychiatrist or psychologist will tell you that you can't come up with a story unless you have a basis for it. And where is the basis at the beginning of history? There is no basis. We have a basis today, but back then there was no cumulative knowledge to draw from.
Giorgio, Tsoukalos, thanks for joining us today. Ancient Aliens airs Friday at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on History Channel, and episodes available to stream the next day. For tour dates and tickets to Ancient Aliens Live, you got to check out ancientalienslive.tour.com. Giorgio, thanks for hanging out with me this morning.
Wonderful, Dan, and I can't wait to do it again next time. Thank you.
Have you ever wondered about the stories behind some of heavy metal's most legendary and sometimes misunderstood figures? From Randy Rhoads to Dimebag Darrell, Wendy O. Williams to Judas Priest on trial, these are tales of creativity, tragedy, and survival. Hulu's new docuseries Into the Void takes us behind the curtain of metal to reveal the raw and very human stories behind the music. So joining me are the creators of the series, Evan Husney and Jason Eisner. Welcome to the show, you two.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks so much for having us.
All right, heavy metal has always carried a reputation for being extreme in sound and lifestyle. What made you want to explore the more human side of these artists in Into the Void?
Well, outside of, Jason and I growing up as huge metal fans, and any opportunity to make this your job is a total dream come true. Outside of our love and passion for, metal and wanting people to, appreciate the genre more, I think that metal is a very interesting world to examine because, as you said at the top of the show, it is a genre that is often, misunderstood, misrepresented, or even weaponized by other people to further their own agendas in many ways, historically, which, of course, our show examines throughout the 80s and early 90s. And so I think it was an opportunity for us to kind of create a series that goes beyond just, their career trajectories, their albums, like the process of writing music and their hit songs, to really reveal the human side of all these figures and artists in this world, and to really show that, they're much more than just their larger than life stage personas. These are regular people who go through the same things we do, tragedy, triumph, resilience, perseverance, and things like that. And it really gave us the opportunity to highlight that with this series. And any opportunity to get more people into the genre or to respect the genre, to understand it more, is definitely awesome and enough for me.
And the series, it spotlights icons like Randy Rhoads and Dimebag Darrell, but also figures people may not know, like Anne Boleyn or the Iranian band Confess. How did you decide what stories you chose to tell?
Yeah, I mean, it was a real process of, picking some of the stories that, we felt that there was more space for even the most hardcore fan to learn something new about, in case of Randy Rhoads or the Dimebag Darrell story. But we also wanted the series to go deeper, and we wanted there to be a lot of discovery stories and stories from bands that, you may never have heard of. And we really prioritized the strength of that human story in the episode to kind of guide us in terms of which ones we were going to pick. And I'm very excited for people to understand, or, to really discover the music of Enemy and the jaw-dropping story behind that band. And as well as, somebody like Anne Boleyn of the band Hellion, who really, should have made it and did make it, didn't make it in the industry. And of course, we're going to get into all the reasons why that was, which really makes it definitely a cautionary tale.
And one of the more striking episodes is about Judas Priest being put on trial, accused of influencing a tragedy. What is that moment or any other moment within the series that talk about the cultural battles metal has faced?
Well, in particular, sorry, I feel like I'm Jason, if you want to hop in, but for me, it's like I feel with that story in particular, it's very relevant to now. I mean, Judas Priest, that story and everything that happened in terms of, really looking at sort of a conservative, Christian movement in the 80s that was sort of looking at metal as this very evil, thing that was corrupting youth. It was causing teenage delinquency. It was inspiring crimes and things like that. And they sort of weaponized the genre to further their own cause. And that really caused that spiraled off into the PMRC and other things and other forms of censorship with heavy metal for a long time. And I feel like, there was sort of a prophecy in terms of what, all of the metal artists of that era were fighting against that we're sort of seeing coming into fruition now. And I think in terms of free speech and in terms of other things. So I really do feel like it's very prescient to look at these stories from the past and sort of look at what we can learn from them in terms of, the freedom of artistic expression, trying to be put under attack and trying to be, harnessed and taken away.
Yeah, I think there's also a lot for people to learn from our episode on Confess, who are this a metal band from Iran who were persecuted for their music that spoke out about religion and the government. And they were actually arrested by the government for their music and were facing very serious jail time. And they had to flee their country to be able to pursue their art and their freedom of expression. And so I think that's definitely an episode I think that's going to feel very timely right now.
Exactly.
I want to thank you two for joining me today. All 8 episodes of Into the Void are now streaming on Hulu. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out. It's a powerful look at the legends, the overlooked trailblazers, and the stories that continue to shape heavy metal culture today. I want to thank you two for joining me.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
Ever wonder what it feels like to headline the biggest stage in sports entertainment? Yep, that's true. It's WrestleMania 42. It's on its way, and WWE's women's champion Tiffany Stratton is leading the charge. From gymnastics star to WWE superstar, she's known for the prettiest moonsault ever and for ushering in what fans call the prettiest era ever. And we got to welcome her to the show. Tiffany, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Your path from the U.S. national gymnastics teams to WWE champion, it's pretty incredible. When you look back, what do you think gave you the confidence to kind of make that leap?
That's a really good question. My mom actually had a lot to do with me kind of going into wrestling. She saw Charlotte Flair on our TV screen. We were kind of scrolling through the channels, and she was like, you can totally do something like that. Like, that's totally like what you do in gymnastics right now. And I was like, yeah, okay, Mom, I'm going to the Olympics. Like, stop it. I have to focus on gymnastics. And then eventually, that dream died, and I moved on from gymnastics, and I did CrossFit, I did bodybuilding, and I kind of just wanted to do something that was a little bit more competitive. And that's when I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this wrestling stuff out, because I saw it was starting to get popular. I saw it on my Instagram. I saw it on Facebook and stuff like that. So I signed up at my nearest pro wrestling school, and it happened to be at Mr. Kennedy's pro wrestling school. And my mom then had a contact who knew Greg Gagne and had reached out to him. And he agreed to train me for a little bit, and he helped me get my tryout with WWE. And then eventually I tried out, and they signed me a week later, and here I am 4 years later, the WWE Women's Champion. I wrestled Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. I beat Trish Stratus, Nia Jax. So it's been a very successful 4 years.
And you've got like a very unique style in the ring. How'd you shape your persona and in-ring moves that fans now connect with Tiffy time?
So I think a lot of the moves that I do in the ring, I used to do when I was a gymnast. And I love to do moves that, people kind of already do, but I put my own kind of Tiffy twist on it, if you will, and I try and do it better than anybody else has ever done it, or prettier, if you will. So like my moonsault, for instance, my swanton, stuff like that. I try and add like a little, flair onto it. And I also try and make it look brutal and aggressive at the same time. So we're pretty in the ring, but we're also aggressive.
And last year, WrestleMania 41 shattered records in Las Vegas. Now WrestleMania 42 is set to return to Allegiant Stadium. How does it feel knowing you'll be part of that history?
So last year was actually my first ever WrestleMania. And that whole process was so exciting for me. It was nerve-wracking, but for it to be in Las Vegas was just so fun for me, because I feel like Vegas is just an iconic state. Like, I feel like it's a sports entertainment capital of the world. Everyone talks about Las Vegas and how entertaining it is. So to have my first ever WrestleMania there, again, Charlotte Flair, was such a dream come true. And now that we get to go back to Las Vegas, it's almost like nostalgic for me, because Vegas holds a special place in my heart since it was my first WrestleMania. So I'm super excited to go back. I feel like Vegas has something for everybody. We're going to have SmackDown there. We're going to have Raw there. We're going to have NXT there. There's going to be after parties, watch parties. And if you ever get bored of the wrestling, because there's going to be a lot of wrestling going on, you can literally find something to do on the Strip. So it's going to be such a fun weekend.
And you've already had huge moments, winning Money in the Bank, cashing in, becoming champion. What's been your biggest, pinch me moment so far in WWE?
My biggest pinch me moment, I feel like, was probably my WrestleMania match. Either that or cashing in and winning the title. I felt like that whole day was so stressful and exhilarating and exciting and nerve-wracking. And when I did cash in and I came out and I thought about it, then I pulled it away, and then I hit Naomi with the briefcase, and then Bianca hit her finish, and then I pulled Bianca out. It was just like so many ups and downs, and I was like, oh my god, am I gonna do this? Am I not gonna do this? And then finally I cashed in and I hit my moonsault, and that was kind of like the moment where I was like, holy crap, I just became champion in my first year of being on SmackDown. So that was probably the biggest pinch me moment of my career.
Tiffany Stratton, thanks for joining me today. WrestleMania 42 takes over Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium on April 18th and 19th in 2026. I know you got time, but 2-day combo tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster, so don't miss your chance to be part of WWE's biggest event of the year. Tiffany, thanks for hanging out with me.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for watching Rise Unwind. Please visit us on our website at riseunwindtv.com. Follow us on our socials and subscribe to our YouTube at Rise Unwind. And thanks for tuning in. You take care, and we'll see you next week.
Valentine, string your magic arrow, pierce it through my heart. Valentine, bring me love and sorrow. It's not fair to leave me in the dark.